Stop the wedding.
You can't marry him! He's my daddy!
Dad, don't marry her. She wants to kill you. A 9-year-old girl shouts this in the middle of her father's wedding ceremony. Guests gasp, thinking she's just grieving, until a voice recording starts playing, and the truth is undeniable. The shocking truth? The bride wasn't in love. She was a seasoned con artist, part of a deadly insurance scam that left 3 men dead. But Zahara, still mourning her mom, saw through the fake smile and the chilling eyes. No one else noticed. Guided by her mother's final words, "Trust your heart," Zahara followed her instincts. She gathered evidence, recorded secret conversations, and prepared for the moment she would save her father's life. In this video, you'll discover how a 9-year-old became the hero of a real-life thriller, how she exposed a professional killer, the red flags most adults miss in too good to be true partners, and why your gut instinct might be the most powerful protection you have. Zahara's courage not only saved her dad, but also helped dismantle an entire Black Widow ring. A child once broken by loss became a symbol of fierce love, intuition, and bravery. If you're in love, planning a wedding, or ever doubted someone who seemed perfect, don't skip this story. It might just save your life. The wind howled like a wounded animal through the cracks in the old window pane. Rain smeared the glass, turning the world outside into a blur of trembling shadows. Zahara pressed her forehead against the cool surface, the condensation dampening her curls. In her small fist, she clutched a silver necklace, worn smooth from years of touch, the only thing her mother had left behind. Her breath fogged the glass as she whispered into the dark, "You said to trust my heart. But it's scared, Mama. It's so scared." Lightning split the sky, and for a brief moment, the world outside was a theater of twisted trees and bending branches. Thunder rolled in right after, deep and low, like the groan of something ancient waking up. The house creaked beneath the weight of the storm, as if it too had something to confess. Behind her, the hallway light flicked on. "Zahara?" Her father's voice came soft but strained, like he'd been practicing cheerfulness in front of a mirror. She turned, eyes wide, still holding the chain to her chest. Kwame stood in the doorway, freshly shaved, a dress shirt open at the collar. He looked handsome, but tired. The kind of tired that didn't come from work, but from pretending too long. His eyes scanned her, hesitated on the necklace. "I didn't mean to wake you," he said. "I wasn't asleep." He walked in slowly, like he wasn't sure if he belonged in her room anymore. His gaze kept drifting away from hers. "I have something to tell you," he said, crouching next to her. "It's about Amara." Zahara flinched. The name tasted like rust in her mouth. He didn't notice. "I proposed," he said, trying to smile. "Last night." She said yes. The room tilted just slightly. Zahara didn't blink. Her fingers tightened around the necklace. "But you met her like 3 months ago." 12 weeks, he corrected too quickly. "I know it's fast, baby, but she makes me feel alive again. After your mom. It was like I forgot how to breathe. Amara reminds me there's still sunlight. She's kind, and she loves us." Zahara wanted to scream, but all that came out was a question. "Do her smiles always stop at her mouth?" Kwame blinked. "What?" "She smiles, but her eyes never smile with her. Not once." There was a pause, the kind that hums between two people who suddenly don't understand each other. Kwame sighed and ran a hand down his face. "You're just nervous. It's a big change, but you'll see. Amara's good for us." Zahara turned back to the window. The rain hadn't stopped. It never stopped when you needed it to. Kwame kissed her hair. Try to sleep, okay? He left, leaving the door open behind him. His footsteps faded down the hall, and then laughter. Light, charming, unmistakably Amara's. Zahara didn't turn. She knew that laugh. It sounded like soft bells and sharp knives. Later that night she heard something. The hallway had gone quiet. The laughter faded. But there was a voice, a whisper. She slipped out of bed, barefoot on cold wood, the necklace still around her neck. Creeping toward the crack of her door, she leaned in. The whisper grew sharper. Oh, it's all set. He signed the damn insurance papers. Just needs to drink the coffee Monday morning and it's done. Zahara's heart dropped into her stomach. She pressed her ear closer. The cabin's already prepped. Kato Mbele has the stuff. I'll be there Sunday night. Her fingers scrambled for the phone hidden in her pajama pocket. A beat-up, hand-me-down model from years ago. She tapped the voice recorder and hit save. The voice continued. Don't worry, by Tuesday I'll be in Mexico. Wire the rest when the certificate hits. 2 million clean. Zahara pulled back like she'd touched fire. Her breath caught. Behind the door she heard movement. Fast. Sharp heel against tile. She fled back to bed, dove under the covers, phone pressed against her stomach. She didn't dare breathe. A soft knock. Zahara. Amara's voice was sweet. Too sweet. Zahara squeezed her eyes shut. Didn't answer. I just checking if you were sleeping, the voice cooed. Big weekend ahead. The footsteps retreated. She didn't sleep. She lay there until the rain stopped and the birds began to stir. Her mind replayed the words again and again. Cabin, insurance, poison, Tuesday. In the morning, over soggy cereal, she stared at Amara's hands. Perfect nails, snake ring on the middle finger. The way she poured coffee for Kwame made Zahara's skin crawl. She needed to tell someone. But who? Her father had already chosen blindness. That afternoon, while Amara showered, singing off-key behind the steamed-up door, Zahara moved. Quick, quiet. She found Amara's purse on the chair in the corner of the bedroom. She hesitated only a second before flipping the flap open. A small red notebook, leather cover. Smelled faintly of clove and something sharper. She opened it, scrawled notes in red ink. Kato Mbele, 3 a.m. drop. Moonridge Cabin, key under pot. Monday coffee, lethal dose 8 ml. Mexico, plan B if Oba interferes. Zahara's hands shook. She pulled out her phone, snapped every page. She heard the water shut off. Panic surged. She shoved the notebook back, tucked the phone into her waistband and ducked into the hall, just as Amara emerged in a towel. Hey, sweetheart, Amara purred, mascara smudged, eyes narrow. What were you doing in my room? Zahara forced a smile. Looking for Dad, Amara held her gaze for a second too long, then walked past her. Her perfume lingered, jasmine, and something rotten. Back in her room, Zahara dropped to her knees and slid the phone under her mattress. Then she crawled beneath the bed, the necklace clutched in her hand. The floor smelled like dust and old memories. Her chest hurt. She wanted her mother. That night, when she was sure the house slept, she pulled out the phone again, listened to the recording. The voice was crystal clear. She didn't sleep. She waited for morning. Then she did the scariest thing of her life. She called Oba. He picked up on the third ring. Groggy. Zahara. Uncle Oba, she whispered, her voice shaking. I need to talk to you about Amara. A pause. Then, what happened? She told him everything. Her voice cracked when she said, She's going to kill him. I know it. There was silence. Then Oba said, I'm coming over. An hour later, he sat in the garden with her, listening to the recording. She showed him the photos. His face changed. The disbelief melted into something else, something darker. Do you still have the notebook? Zahara shook her head. I couldn't, but I copied it. He nodded. We'll need more, and we need to be smart. People like her don't play fair. He touched her shoulder gently. You did good, but you're not safe. Not really. You'll have to keep pretending. Zahara nodded. And Zahara, yes, we're going to save your dad, but you have to be brave, brave like your mother. She looked at him, eyes shining. Then down at the necklace. She told me to trust my heart, she whispered. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then let's listen to it. She nodded once, fierce, but deep inside something cold coiled tighter. Because now she wasn't just a scared girl anymore. She was in the middle of something real, and monsters didn't hide under beds. They smiled across dinner tables. The sound came like a breath pressed through teeth. Not quite a voice, not quite silence. Just that strange in-between that made the skin on Zahara's arms prickle as she tiptoed down the hallway barefoot, careful not to let the wooden floor betray her. The house was too still, the kind of still that wasn't empty, but watched. The whisper came again. She froze outside her father's study. The door was slightly ajar, just enough for the warm amber light to bleed into the dark corridor. Zahara held her breath. She clutched her old phone tight against her chest, thumb hovering over the record button. Of course it's all going to plan. Amara's voice slid through the crack like a knife under the doorframe. He thinks I'm in love. Men like that always do. Silence. Then a response. Too muffled to make out, but it was clear she was on the phone. Her tone changed, colder now, lower. Yes, the cabin's still booked. Moonridge, Sunday evening. I told him I wanted to watch the sunrise together. She gave a small laugh, sharp and humorless. He doesn't know he won't see it. Zahara's heart slammed in her ears. She pressed the record button. Her thumb trembled. She pressed her back to the wall and slid down until she was crouched, hidden by the shadows. Amara's voice dropped further, urgency coiling in every syllable. No, we do it Monday morning, the coffee routine. That's when he's alone. I can control it. I already packed the vial. No screw-ups, Kato. I want to be on a plane by noon. Zahara's fingers twitched. Her mouth tasted like copper. She wanted to scream, to burst into the room, to throw the truth in her father's face. But her mother's words echoed, soft, steady. Trust your heart. It won't lie to you. The call ended with the faint beep of a disconnected line. Footsteps shifted. Zahara bolted, silent, quick, slipping into the guest bathroom just as Amara stepped into the hallway. Through the cracked door, she saw the woman's silhouette pause, head tilted, listening. Zahara covered her mouth. The necklace around her throat felt heavier than usual. Amara turned and walked away, humming something slow, something that didn't sound quite human. Later, in her room, Zahara played back the audio. The words were clear, ice cold. She didn't sleep. She sat by the window until the sky bled gray and the birds woke up. Her fingers traced the necklace, again and again, the chain warm from her skin. Her mother used to hum that same melody, but when Mama sang it, it sounded like rain on a tin roof. Amara's version curdled in the air. At breakfast, she watched her father pour coffee like nothing had happened. He wore a lavender shirt, his favorite. He smiled at Amara as if she were magic. Zahara pushed her cereal around in the bowl, uneaten. Amara leaned in, sipping from her own cup. Her eyes met Zahara's. That same smile. But again, it stopped just short of her eyes. Sleep well, darling, she asked sweetly. Zahara nodded, like a rock. Amara laughed lightly. Good. We'll need our energy. Wedding plans wait for no one. Her father chuckled. It's going to be beautiful, huh? Zahara looked at him. So much trust in that face. Too much. She rose from the table. I have to use the bathroom. But she didn't go to the bathroom. She went to the garage. Behind the old tool chest was a shoebox. She reached under the folded rags and pulled out a dusty USB stick. She copied the audio to it. Then she opened her email and sent a backup file to a cloud drive she barely remembered the password to. It worked. Thank God. She didn't know how long she had, but she knew this much. She was no longer just a little girl with nightmares. She was the only one awake in a house full of sleepwalkers. She had to wake someone. That someone was her dad. So she tried. That evening, as Amara went out to shop for floral arrangements, Zahara climbed onto the couch beside her father. He was watching old home videos on the TV, her mother's voice still warm in the speakers. Zahara waited until the clip ended. "Dad," she said, "can I talk to you?" "Of course, Princess." Her fingers tugged at the hem of her sleeve. "I think Amara's not who you think she is." Kwame gave a little smile. "Still not warming up to her, huh?" "I'm serious." He turned toward her. "What did she do?" Zahara hesitated. If she said too much, he might get angry. If she said too little, he might laugh. "She's hiding things. I heard her on the phone. She said something about a cabin, insurance, coffee." Kwame blinked. "Sweetheart, those are some big words to misunderstand." "I didn't misunderstand. I heard her." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Listen, Zahara, I know it's been hard since your mom passed. It's okay to be protective, but Amara's not the enemy. She's trying. She's going to be your stepmother. I just want us all to get along." "She's going to kill you," Zahara whispered. The air shifted. Kwame stared at her, the way people stare when they can't tell if you're joking or broken. "You're a kid," he said gently. "Kids have wild imaginations." Zahara stood up, furious tears burning the corners of her eyes. "I'm not lying." He stood too, put both hands on her shoulders. "I know you're not lying. I think maybe you dreamed it. Or maybe you're scared she's replacing your mom. She's not. No one can." Zahara stepped back. He thought she was making it up. Her father, the man who taught her how to ride a bike and pick mangoes in the summer sun, thought she was confused. She said nothing else, just went upstairs. That night she didn't cry. She didn't even blink. She stared at the ceiling, listening to the sound of rain start again. Always rain, as if the sky couldn't decide whether to wash away the truth or drown it. Downstairs, Amara returned late. She didn't knock. She entered Zahara's room without warning, stood in the doorway, a silhouette in the moonlight. "I know you've been snooping," she said softly. "You should be careful what you hear, Zahara. Sometimes the truth is too heavy for little girls." Zahara said nothing. Amara stepped closer. "Bones break. So do little fingers." The door clicked shut behind her. Zahara waited until she was gone, then reached under her mattress. The phone was gone. Her stomach dropped, but the USB was still hidden in the sock drawer, and the cloud backup. Please, please let it have saved. She pressed her palms together, the way her mother used to teach her before bedtime prayers. Then she reached for the silver chain and held it tight against her chest. Her heart beat so loud it hurt. That was the moment she knew she couldn't stay quiet anymore. Someone had to believe her. If her father wouldn't listen, she'd find someone who would, because next time, it wouldn't just be a whisper behind a door. It would be a scream no one could ignore, and the clock was already ticking. The mirror fogged under a sheen of steam. Zahara stood barefoot on the cold tile, heart pounding, eyes fixed on the hallway. The sound of running water and Amara's off-key humming echoed behind the bathroom door. Now, she moved, quick, quiet, measured steps over the hardwood floor, heart thudding louder with each one. into Amara's room. Lavender scent, too strong, almost fake, the kind that tried too hard to mask something rotten underneath. The purse was on the armchair, open just a little, like it was inviting her. Zahara's hands trembled as she reached inside. Lipstick, tissues, gum wrappers, and then, beneath the zipper pouch, she felt it. A small, leather-bound notebook, warm from being held, pages slightly curled. She pulled it out. The cover was red, deep, almost blood-like. The edges frayed, no name, no markings. But when she flipped it open, her breath caught. Names, dates, places, everything written in sharp, angry red ink. Cato Mbele. Ask about dosage. Moonridge Cabin. Sunday night. Monday. Coffee. Plan B. Mexico. She blinked, then flipped further. Diagrams, timing schedules, even little notes about airline tickets, coded references to wire transfers. Her throat tightened. This wasn't imagination. This wasn't a dream. It was a plan. She grabbed her phone, still scratched from where she'd dropped it last summer. The camera flickered on. She snapped every page. Fast, quiet, angle after angle. Just in case she lost the notebook. Just in case she never saw it again. A new sound sliced through the moment. Water off. The humming stopped. Zahara's hands went ice cold. She turned, clutching the notebook like it could shield her, and froze. Amara's shadow stretched across the hallway floor. No time. Zahara shoved the notebook under the rug by the vanity. Not perfect, not hidden, but better than being caught with it in hand. She ran to the window, cracked it open. Let the wind rush in, mess up her hair, make it look like she'd been there the whole time. The door creaked open. Amara, in a white robe, towel around her head, stood framed in the doorway like a statue. Her eyes scanned the room, then landed on Zahara. "What are you doing in here?" Zahara spun around, wide-eyed. "Looking for my dad. Isn't this my room?" Amara's voice was soft, but there was iron underneath. "I thought I heard him come in." "You were mistaken." Zahara nodded and moved to leave. As she passed Amara, the woman leaned in just a little too close. "You should really learn how to knock." Then she smiled, walked past Zahara, and shut the door behind her. Down the hall, Zahara ducked into her room, locked the door, dropped to her knees. Her phone was still recording. She saved the photos, saved them again to her cloud folder, then backed them up to the USB she wore under her shirt. Just like Oba had told her, when the world becomes a lie, proof is the only truth left. She stared at the necklace in her palm, her mother's, simple, silver, with a tiny charm in the shape of a star, worn, slightly dented. The clasp was loose, but it still caught light when it moved. She remembered the last time her mother wore it. The hospital. Weak hands, but strong eyes. "Your heart knows more than grown-ups give it credit for," Mama had whispered. "Trust it, Zahara, especially when everyone else tells you not to." Outside, the hallway creaked again. Amara was pacing. Zahara curled up on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The photos burned in her mind. The red ink, the words, Plan B. What was Plan A then? She didn't want to know, but she had to. She texted Oba. "She has a notebook. It's real. I took pictures." Oba's reply came fast. "Can you get it?" "Maybe." She almost caught me. I hid it under the rug in her room. Another ping. "You're brave. Don't touch it again. I'll be there tomorrow." Zahara breathed out, a moment of stillness. But it didn't last. That night, during dinner, Amara barely looked at her. She joked with Kwame, laughed too loud, told stories about Paris and Tokyo, places Zahara didn't believe she'd ever been. Zahara stared at her plate. She couldn't eat. Every time her father took a sip of his wine, her stomach turned. Later, she sat on the stairs, listening. Amara washed dishes. The water ran loud. Kwame was humming in the living room, playing music on the old speaker. Zahara slipped toward the guest room. She needed to check, make sure the notebook was still there. She crept in, turned on the flashlight on her phone and lifted the rug. Gone. Her throat closed. She backed away fast, nearly tripped over the nightstand. Then she heard a voice. "You really should learn how to clean up after yourself." Amara stood in the doorway, still, calm, smiling. Zahara turned, ready to bolt, but Amara stepped aside. "Go on, run." Her voice was too calm. Zahara ran anyway, slipped into her room, locked the door, pushed the dresser in front of it, heart pounding, hands shaking. The phone buzzed again. "Oba. Still okay?" She typed fast. She found the notebook. "It's gone." He replied, "I'm coming early, tomorrow, before sunrise." Zahara stared at the screen, then at the window. The rain had started again. Everything always started when it rained. She crawled into bed, held the necklace tight, and whispered to the dark. "I'm still here, Mama. I'm still fighting." In her sleep, she dreamed of fire, red ink dripping down walls, coffee cups full of poison, a plane ticket that never returned. She woke with a start. The house was silent, but too silent. Like the quiet before something breaks, like the moment before the scream. And somewhere in the silence, under the soft roar of rain, she thought she heard Amara's voice whisper through the vents. A little girl should know better than to snoop. She didn't move, didn't blink, but her fingers never left the necklace. And her mind never stopped counting. 2 days to Sunday, 3 to Monday, 4 until Mexico. The headlights flicked once in the fog, then again. Zahara crouched behind the garden gate, hands frozen to the rusted metal. Her breath puffed white in the cold morning air. Dew clung to her eyelashes. The ground was still wet from last night's storm, and her socks were soaked through. But she didn't care. He was here. Oba stepped out of the truck, shoulders hunched, face half hidden under a hood. He scanned the house, eyes sharp despite the hour. Then he saw her. Zahara ran. He knelt to catch her in his arms. The scent of old leather and rain clung to his jacket. His voice cracked against the quiet. "You okay?" She nodded but didn't let go. The necklace pressed between them like a small, stubborn heartbeat. Oba gently pulled back and looked at her face. "You've been crying." She shook her head. "Not today." He stood, took her hand. "Let's go somewhere safe. Not the house, not the porch." He led her to the truck. Inside, the air smelled of coffee and motor oil. There was a quiet between them, the kind only people with history can hold. Oba had known her since she was born, her father's closest friend, the one who fixed her bike, taught her how to bait a hook, snuck her cookies when her mother was sick. She handed him the USB. It's all on there. Audio, photos, the notebook pages. Oba didn't speak. He just nodded. Inserted the drive into his laptop. The screen lit up with a folder named "Do Not Delete." He clicked the first file. Amara's voice filled the cab. Moonridge. Monday coffee. 2 million. Zahara watched his face as it played. No blinking. No interruptions. When it ended, he exhaled through his nose. "Damn." Zahara's voice came out small. "You believe me now? I never didn't believe you." He looked over, but I didn't understand. Not until now. She bit her lip. "What do we do?" He leaned back, fingers steepled. "We go to someone who has the power to act, quietly, lawfully. I have a friend, Nia Dlamini, works in federal investigation, smart, careful. And if she says it's real, we'll have the law on our side. Zahara leaned forward. She won't think I'm just a kid. She'll think you're the reason your father's still breathing. Oba started the truck. The road was quiet, the sky still dark. Zahara watched the trees blur past. For the first time in weeks, her chest didn't feel like it was about to explode. But the peace didn't last long. As they pulled into an alley behind a nondescript gray building, Zahara saw something that made her gut twist. A sleek black car parked across the street. Amara's car. Oba parked. Stay here. No. He paused, then nodded once. They climbed out. The building smelled of paper and ink and something faintly chemical. The elevator groaned as it lifted them to the 3rd floor. Nia Dlamini was waiting. Tall, skin the color of deep mahogany, braids pulled tight, eyes like sharp glass behind her glasses. Oba gave her the drive. Nia plugged it in. As she listened, her expression shifted from curiosity to concern, then finally to something like fury. When the file ended, she turned to Zahara. Where did you get this? I recorded it, and I took photos of her notebook. She was planning to. Her voice cracked. To kill my dad. For money. Nia leaned forward. Do you still have the notebook? Zahara's shoulders slumped. No, she found it. Took it back. Oba cut in. But the photos are time-stamped. Clear. The audio's clean, too. It's enough to act on, Nia said. But not enough to convict. Not yet. We need the physical evidence, poison, the notebook, any financial trails. We also need to verify this Kato Mbele. He could be the supplier. Zahara's heart sank. So, we wait? Nia stood. No, we prepare. I'll file for a covert surveillance warrant. I'll trace Amara's digital footprint, travel records, purchases. If this plan's in motion, she's left a trail, and we'll follow it to Moon Ridge. Oba took Zahara's hand. Nia's eyes softened. You did something brave. Most adults wouldn't have dared. You didn't just save your father. You stopped a murder. Zahara blinked hard. She hadn't expected praise. She hadn't expected to feel warm in a cold room. On the way out, Oba stopped by a vending machine. The Snickers or pretzels? She didn't answer. He bought both. As they sat back in the truck, Zahara looked up. What if she searches my room again? What if she finds the USB? Oba handed her a small envelope. Inside was another flash drive. They keep this one in your backpack, but hide the other in your dad's tool shed. 3rd drawer, behind the pliers. She took it. Why there? Because no one ever looks behind the pliers. She smiled for the first time in days, but when they got home, the smile vanished. The front door was wide open. The hallway lights were off. Oba pushed Zahara behind him. They stepped inside. Silence. Too much silence. Then a sound from the kitchen. Kwame humming. Zahara exhaled in relief. They followed the sound. He was making eggs, still in pajamas, as if nothing in the world was wrong. Oba spoke first. Morning, brother. Kwame turned. Oba, what are you doing here so early? Just checking in. Kwame smiled, then looked at Zahara. You okay, sweetheart? She nodded. Oba leaned in. Can we talk? Kwame led him into the living room. Zahara stood frozen. Then she ran upstairs, into her room. The drawer, the USB, gone. Her stomach flipped. She searched everything. Mattress, closet, bookshelves, nothing. Then she checked her backpack. Still there, the backup. She exhaled. But the fact that the original was gone meant only one thing. Amara had been in her room again. Oba came up 15 minutes later, his face unreadable. She didn't tell him, he said, but she's watching. She's starting to tighten her grip. Zahara looked at him. She took the USB. His jaw tightened. Okay, then we work faster. She swallowed. What if she finds out I gave you the files? She won't. But if she does, Oba crouched down. Then you do what you've been doing. Stay smart, stay quiet, and never stop fighting. Zahara's eyes burned. She said little girls who snoop get broken. Oba didn't flinch. She's not the first snake I've dealt with, and I promise you she won't win. Zahara looked out the window. The sky was clearing, but the storm wasn't over. She could feel it. It was gathering behind smiles and wedding dresses and coffee cups. She sat down on the edge of her bed, held the necklace in her hand, and whispered to herself, "We're coming, Mama. We're going to finish what you started." The cabin door creaked as it opened, heavy and slow, like it hadn't been used in years. Amara stepped inside with a flashlight clenched between her teeth and her phone glowing in her hand. She didn't bother turning on the lights. She knew better. Windows could betray. Lights could talk. Zahara crouched lower behind the thick roots of the pine tree outside. Rainwater soaked her shoes. Mud clung to her knees. Her breath came in shallow bursts. Each sound, twig snap, owl call, felt like it might give her away. From her hiding spot, she could see everything through the cracked window. Amara lit a candle inside, just one. She moved carefully, deliberately. She set down a small black bag, unzipped it, and pulled out 2 vials. Clear, no labels. Zahara's fingers fumbled for her phone. The battery flashed red, 11%. She held it steady. Hit record. Inside, Amara picked up her phone and made a call. "It's done. I've got it with me now." Her voice was hushed but sharp. Cato dropped it off an hour ago. He didn't ask questions. She paced in a tight circle, the candle casting her face in flashes of gold and shadow. "Yes, I'll leave Sunday night. No, he won't suspect a thing. I already told him I wanted a quiet weekend to celebrate. He's too sentimental to say no." Silence, then a laugh. "Of course I'll cry. Of course I'll wear white. Of course I'll make him breakfast with cream and sugar, like he always takes it." Zahara pressed her hand against her mouth. The necklace under her shirt burned like ice. "Yes, I'm sure. The moment he drinks it, I walk away a millionaire. You wire it, I fly. We never speak again." Another silence. "No, the girl doesn't matter. She's just a child. If she gets in the way, I'll deal with it." The candle flickered. The shadows danced across the wood walls. Zahara's hand shook so badly the screen almost slipped from her grip. She pressed the phone tighter. The audio saved. That was all that mattered. She had it now. A sound behind her. A twig snapped. She froze. A flashlight beam cut through the trees. Zahara threw herself down, covered the screen with her hand. Another voice. Male. Low. Drawling. "She's not here. You sure the girl followed you?" Amara stepped outside, barefoot now, still holding the candle like a priestess with a curse. "I saw her. She's clever, but not clever enough." Zahara crawled backward inch by inch, heart thundering. The man stepped into view. Kato. Tall. Muscular. Hoodie pulled tight. Gloves on. His eyes were narrow slits under the brim of a soaked cap. "You want me to take care of it?" he asked. Amara glanced into the woods. "No, not yet. Let her listen. Let her think she's winning. She'll make mistakes. Then she disappears." Kato smirked. "As you wish." They went back inside. Zahara waited until she heard the door click shut. Then she ran. Through the trees, through the dark. Every root was a trap. Every gust of wind felt like a scream. Her lungs burned. Her legs shook. But she didn't stop. She burst out onto the main road and threw herself into the back seat of Oba's truck. He slammed the door shut behind her and locked it. "You got it." She couldn't speak, just nodded and held out the phone. He grabbed it, checked the file. Then he exhaled. You did it. Nia sat in the front seat, a headset crackling in her ear. We've got the warrant. Surveillance is now live. I'll have agents check the cabin before sunrise. Zahara trembled. Her lips were blue. Oba draped his jacket over her shoulders. She knows, Zahara whispered. She saw me, or thinks she did. Kato too. Nia's fingers paused on her laptop. Then we move now. No, Zahara said. Not yet. They turned. If we move too soon, she runs. You won't catch her. You need her holding the poison, making the coffee, saying the words. I can get it. Oba's voice cracked. Absolutely not. She already searched my room. She already took the USB. She already threatened me. What else is left? Silence. Then Nia spoke softly. If we let you stay, you follow instructions. Every second. No improvising. Zahara looked at her. I'm not stupid. No, Nia said. You're brave. There's a difference. They drove in silence. By the time they dropped her off, dawn was creeping across the sky like spilled milk. The house looked normal. Lights off, curtains drawn. But everything had changed. Oba walked her to the porch. He crouched down and looked her in the eyes. I will be right here. Sunday night. I'll be nearby. I'll have eyes on the cabin. If she tries anything, I'll stop it. Zahara nodded. He hesitated, then pulled something from his coat, a tiny audio transmitter. Clip this under the collar of your dress. No one will see it. I'll hear everything. Zahara took it. Promise me one thing, he said. What? You come home. She swallowed. I'll try. He hugged her, hard, and left. Inside, the house smelled of lavender and toast. Amara stood in the kitchen, humming, flipping pancakes. Morning, darling, she sang. Sleep well? Zahara nodded, like a rock. Good. We have so much to do. Nails, hair, dresses, music list. I swear I'm doing all the work. Zahara sat at the table. Her hands were still shaking. Where were you last night? Amara asked sweetly, eyes on the frying pan. I couldn't sleep. I read in the living room. Amara turned. For a second, just one, the smile dropped. Then it returned. Well, make sure you rest tonight. Tomorrow is going to be unforgettable. Zahara forced a smile. I know. Amara plated the pancakes. Extra syrup. Blueberries shaped into a smiley face. Zahara didn't touch it. Later, in her room, she opened the small box from Oba. Inside was the transmitter, a dress clip, and a note. Say everything, loud, clear. We'll be listening. She stared at the necklace in her hand. For the first time, she wasn't sure if it would be enough. She whispered into the silence. I'm scared, Mama. And in the stillness, there was no reply, only her heartbeat and the faint sound of a door locking from the outside. The veil hung like mist around her shoulders. Zahara stood in front of the mirror in a soft lavender dress, hair curled, lips bare, heart racing. Behind her, Amara adjusted a strand of Zahara's curls with calculated tenderness, hands that felt too calm, too smooth for a woman hours away from murder. You look so sweet today, Amara cooed, her voice like syrup over thorns. Just like your mother. Zahara didn't move. She stared into the mirror, not at herself, but at the necklace around her throat. Silver, tarnished, real. Her mother's star-shaped pendant shimmered in the low light, quiet and steady. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky had turned the color of bruised peaches. The city stirred with the sound of church bells and tires over wet pavement. It was Sunday. It was supposed to be holy, but something unholy hung in the air. The car ride was silent. Zahara sat beside Amara in the back seat, Kwame at the wheel, humming to himself. He looked dashing in gray, his tie crooked, but his smile proud. I can't believe it, he said. After everything, we're finally here." Amara leaned over and kissed his cheek. "Dreams come true, love." Zahara looked away. The church rose like a fortress from the street, pale stone washed by rain. Flowers were draped over the entrance, pale white roses, orchids, and lilies, Amara's favorites. Inside, music floated from the string quartet, soft and elegant. Guests in tailored suits and silky dresses filled the pews. Everything smelled of perfume and polished wood and quiet excitement. But to Zahara, it smelled like a funeral. She walked down the aisle behind her father, small hand tight in his, her shoes pinched, her palms sweated. Her fingers reached for the necklace again and again, like a lifeline. Oba was already there, in the back. He didn't wave, didn't smile, just gave a single nod. Zahara blinked once. The plan was already in motion. She took her seat near the front, close enough to the altar, close enough to the speaker system. Oba had delivered the recording that morning to the sound technician. The man had blinked when he saw the file name. "Play only if girl signals." That was all it said. Oba had leaned in and whispered, "You'll know when." The music faded. The pastor cleared his throat. "If anyone here knows of any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now, or forever hold your peace." The church fell still. Zahara's breath caught in her chest. Amara smiled, a perfect practiced smile. Her hands wrapped gently around Kwame's. Her bouquet of lilies tilted just right. And then Zahara stood up. Her voice wasn't loud, not at first. "Don't." Kwame turned confused. "Zahara, don't marry her, Dad." Her voice rose now, trembling but sharp. "She's going to kill you." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "What?" Kwame's face paled. "She's going to poison your coffee on Monday morning," Zahara said, louder now, stepping into the aisle. "She already bought the vial. She's already packed her bag. Mexico's waiting. She said it herself." Amara's face didn't move. Then came the smallest twitch, a flick of her fingers. A crack in the mask. "You poor girl," she said softly. "You're not well. I've tried to be kind." "She recorded you," a voice called from the back. It was Oba. "Every word," he said, stepping forward. "And that recording is about to speak." All eyes turned to the sound booth. The technician nodded and pressed play. Amara's voice spilled out of the speakers like acid in a holy room. "Yes, I'll cry. Of course I'll wear white. Of course I'll make him breakfast with cream and sugar, like he always takes it. The moment he drinks it, I walk away a millionaire." Screams. A woman dropped her purse. The pastor backed away from the altar. Kwame turned, dazed. "Amara?" But Amara didn't look at him. She looked at Zahara. Her eyes burned. "You little monster." The microphone caught every syllable. "You should have died with your mother." The room fell into silence. Then chaos. Kwame stumbled back. Oba shoved past the pews. Amara tried to run, but the door opened wide. Nia Dlamini stepped in, flanked by 2 officers. "You're under arrest for attempted murder, insurance fraud, and conspiracy to commit homicide," she said. "Don't make this harder." Amara's scream tore through the room. "You fools! You think this ends with me?" But she was already cuffed, already gone. Zahara stood in the center of the aisle, chest heaving. The necklace shimmered. And then Kwame fell to his knees. His arms opened. "Zahara." She didn't move at first, but then she ran, straight into him, and he held her like he was holding on to breath. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't see it. I didn't see anything." Zahara sobbed into his chest. I tried to tell you." "I know," he said. "I know." The church bells rang again, but this time it didn't feel like a wedding. It felt like something had been saved, and something else had been shattered. As they stood there, tangled in tears and lilies and disbelief, Zahara looked past her father's shoulder. Oba stood near the exit. He didn't smile, just gave her another nod. But this time there was pride behind it, and something else, grief, because even though the monster had been dragged into light, the nightmare wasn't done, not yet. The police van door slammed shut behind her, and yet her voice lingered. Zahara stood outside the church, her dress damp from the mist, the necklace warm against her chest like a second pulse. Inside, people were still talking in rushed whispers. Some were crying, others were filming, but all she could hear was that final scream. You should have died with your mother. She would never forget it. The venom, the fury, the truth in it. Amara hadn't just hated her father. She had hated Zahara too, had planned to erase them both. And for a moment, just a moment, Zahara saw the ghost of a different outcome, a funeral instead of a wedding, a closed casket, a crowd whispering, "Such a shame, such a sweet man." But it hadn't happened, because she spoke, she screamed, and the world had listened. Behind her, Oba's hand rested gently on her shoulder. "You did it," he said. She didn't answer. The air smelled like wet concrete and spilled perfume. Sirens echoed faintly in the distance, drawing away from the church and toward the forested road leading to Moonridge. Because Nia had moved, fast. While Amara screamed in front of the congregation, Nia and 2 other agents had swept the cabin. Hidden beneath the floorboards, exactly where Zahara had described, they found a metal case. Inside, 2 vials, the poison, the purchase receipts, a burner phone, and a handwritten letter. To Mr. Mbele, "Thank you for the delivery. If the papers go through, I'll be gone by Tuesday. I never saw your face. You never saw mine. No name, no signature. But it didn't matter. Kato was already in custody by nightfall. He hadn't run. He hadn't fought. He just looked at Nia and said, 'You should have seen the others she buried.'" The statement froze her blood. Others? A file was opened. Federal. Zahara had known the nightmare inside her home. But now, the ripple moved outward, across state lines, across identities. This wasn't just about her father anymore. This was something bigger. That night, Oba brought Zahara home. Kwame was in the living room, still in his wedding suit, still in shock. The bouquet was on the floor, the white roses browning at the edges. He looked up as they entered. His eyes were red, his voice hoarse. "Can I talk to her, alone?" Oba nodded, kissed Zahara's hair, and stepped out. The door clicked behind him. Zahara stood still. Her father looked broken, in a way she had never seen before. Not even after her mother's funeral. Not even during the sleepless nights, when grief had turned him silent and distant. "I didn't believe you," he said softly. "I didn't listen." She didn't move. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the USB. "I found this, under the mattress. The one she didn't take." He handed it to her. "I heard everything." Zahara's hands closed around it. He knelt down, eye level now. "I owe you my life." Her voice was a whisper. "You owe her." She held up the necklace. Quam's face twisted. "Zuri, she would have..." "She did. She told me to trust my heart." The words fell like glass between them. He nodded, tears spilling now. No performance, no pride. "I'm sorry." Zahara looked at him, really looked. "I was alone." "I know," he said. "I was scared." "I know." "I don't want to be scared anymore." He reached out. She stepped forward, and this time, when he wrapped his arms around her, she didn't pull away. Later that week, the audio leaked online. No one knew who sent it. One day, it was just there, in inboxes, on forums, through encrypted chains of blind drops. The full file, unedited. Zahara's voice, Amara's confession, the wedding chaos, and then the photo, Kato Mbele, handcuffed, standing in front of the Moonridge cabin, the vials lined up on a piece of police evidence cloth like tiny ghosts. The story spread fast. She was called the girl who saved her father, the child detective, the wedding whistleblower. Reporters camped outside their house. Talk shows debated her bravery. One school in California canceled their Monday morning breakfast program, just to be safe. By Friday, an entire Reddit thread was dedicated to dark widows and suspicious insurance policies across the country. But Zahara stayed inside. She didn't want fame. She didn't even want credit. She just wanted quiet. One night, as the house finally slept and the media vans moved on, Oba came to visit. They sat on the back porch. The wind carried the scent of wet bark and jasmine. Zahara leaned into his side, bare feet on the cold step. Oba pulled a folded paper from his jacket. From Naya. Zahara opened it. It was a list. Names, locations, cases reopened, all tied to Amara. All women who had died with similar insurance policies. Most ruled as accidents, some as suicides, none questioned. Until now, Zahara's fingers shook. Did they all? Oba nodded. Some never even knew they were in danger. She looked up at the stars. They didn't get a chance to scream. No, Oba said. But you did. A pause. Then Zahara reached for the necklace. I want to go see them. The families? She nodded. Not all at once, but someday. Just to say, I understand. Oba didn't speak for a long time. Then he said something that made her chest tighten. She would have been proud of you. Zahara closed her eyes. Let the breeze kiss her cheek. But peace never comes all at once. The next morning, a letter arrived in a plain envelope. No name. No return address. Inside was a single sentence written in jagged red ink. The girl lives for now. Zahara stared at it, her fingers trembling again, but this time she didn't panic. She stood and walked to her father. She handed him the letter. I think it's not over. Kwame read it, then met her eyes. No, he said. But now we fight together. The river was wide and slow, its surface like glass beneath the morning sun. Zahara sat on the edge of the wooden dock, bare feet swinging above the water, the silver necklace lying flat against her collarbone. Beside her, a pizza box balanced precariously between two paper cups of orange soda. The crusts were cold now. She didn't mind. Kwame sat a few feet away, sleeves rolled up, shoes off. He hadn't spoken in a while. The breeze was soft. It carried the scent of warm mud, wild mint, and something citrus drifting from the lemon trees behind them. Zahara broke the silence. They said she'll get 30 years minimum. Kwame didn't look at her. I know. They found everything. The files, the accounts, even the burner phone she used in Delaware. I know, he repeated. Zahara took a bite of the crust, chewed, swallowed. But they still don't know how many people. Kwame finally turned. His voice was steady, but his eyes were tired. No, they don't. She looked down at the water. It reflected her face, warped slightly by ripples. You think I'll dream about her forever? He was quiet for a moment. I still dream about your mother, but it's different now. How? She talks to me, he said, a faint smile forming. She never talked before, just stood there, looked disappointed. But lately, she says things. She laughs. I think she forgives me. Zahara blinked fast. I think Mama would have screamed too. Kwam's voice cracked. She would have broken the speakers. They both laughed softly, and the silence that followed was gentler this time. The world had kept turning. A week after the wedding that wasn't, the courthouse had finalized the charges. Kato Mbele pleaded guilty to distribution of controlled substances and conspiracy. His statement was 2 pages long. He named 3 others. 2 were arrested in Florida. 1 disappeared in Nevada. The FBI called it a criminal insurance ring with multiple potential homicides, but the public called it something else, the Widow Circuit. Zahara didn't like the name. It made it sound like a story, not what it really was. She didn't tell anyone that she still kept the USB drive hidden under her mattress. The original, the one Amara hadn't found. She didn't watch the video clips online, didn't read the Reddit threads, didn't talk to the journalists who kept emailing Oba. She just went back to school. Kids stared, some pointed, but no one called her crazy anymore. At home, things changed quietly. Kwame stopped drinking coffee for a while. Zahara noticed. He switched to tea, honey and ginger. He said it helped him sleep. Oba visited more often, and every time he came, he brought her something small, a sticker book, a box of black licorice, a folded note from Nia with updates from the federal task force. One afternoon, he brought her something else, a printout of a news article. Family in San Diego avoid scam after daughter reads viral poison wedding thread. The headline was loud, but Zahara's eyes landed on something else. The quote from the mother, "If not for that little girl, I'd be gone." She folded the paper slowly, held it in her lap. Oba watched her. "You okay?" Zahara shrugged. "I didn't mean to start anything." "You didn't start it," he said. "You ended it." That night she dreamed of her mother. Not in the hospital, not thin and pale and tired, but whole. She was sitting on a bench beneath a tree, her braid falling over one shoulder, her smile easy. She said only one thing. "You kept your promise." When Zahara woke up, the pillow was wet, but her chest felt light. A week later, she and Kwame visited the river. It wasn't planned. They just ended up there. And as they sat on the dock, a breeze picked up. Zahara reached into her jacket pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper. Kwame glanced over. "What's that?" "A letter," she said. "To Mama." She unfolded it. The writing was crooked. The ink smudged in places, but the words were clear. "Dear Mama," she read aloud, voice soft, steady. "I did it. I screamed. I didn't want to. I wanted to stay quiet like you told me to when people stare. But this time I screamed, and they heard me. And he lived." Kwame's eyes brimmed. Zahara continued, "I miss you. Every day. I wish you could have seen how brave I was. I wish you could have come to the not wedding. But I know you were there. I know you heard the recording. I know you followed me into the trees." She paused. The water lapped against the wood. She looked at her father. He nodded once, and Zahara stood. She folded the letter again, pressed it to her lips, then slipped it into the river. They watched it drift, slow, silent, certain. A few minutes later, Zahara spoke again. "Do you think she's proud?" Kwame didn't answer at first. Then he looked at her, not like a man who had failed, or a father asking for forgiveness, but like someone witnessing something sacred. She always was. The letter floated downstream until it vanished. Zahara sat back down. Then she pulled something else from her pocket. A necklace, a replica, the same silver star. She held it out. "This is for someone else," she said. "For the next girl or boy who doesn't know they're allowed to be loud." Kwame took it. "Where should we send it?" She smiled. "We won't. They'll find it." The pizza box was almost empty. Zahara tore the last slice in half, gave her father the bigger piece, and for the first time in a long time they ate in silence that wasn't empty. That night, somewhere across the country, another envelope arrived in another mailbox. Inside was a flash drive, labeled, "For when they stop believing you." No note. No sender, just a gift, from one girl who screamed to another who would need to. Sometimes the loudest scream is the one no one hears, and sometimes the smallest voice, shaking, terrified, determined, becomes the one that changes everything. This story wasn't about perfection or heroes. It was about the cost of being silenced, about how danger doesn't always come in the form of strangers or monsters hiding in the dark. It often wears a smile, offers comfort, and whispers promises when no one's watching. But truth has a way of finding its way through, not with noise, but with persistence, with love, with courage born from fear, not the absence of it. And sometimes, all it takes is a child's instinct, a necklace held too tightly, a sentence too soft to believe, until it becomes impossible to ignore. This was a story of trust broken, but also of trust rebuilt, of the weight of loss, and the quiet dignity of choosing to speak anyway. It reminds us that believing someone, especially when they're young or scared or inconvenient, is not a courtesy. It's a responsibility. It reminds us that protection is not always found in shelter, but in listening, in standing beside someone when the world would rather look away. The truth doesn't always come with fanfare. It comes in fragments, in questions, in moments that feel too small to matter, until they are the only thing that matters at all. And if we're lucky, if we're open, we learn that healing doesn't mean forgetting what hurt us. It means using it, so someone else doesn't have to bleed where we did. Thank you for walking this journey with us. If this story stirred something in you, if it made you feel, remember, or reflect, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what moved you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow our channel for more stories that remind us what it means to be human. Because sometimes the right story at the right time doesn't just entertain us, it saves us.